and welcome to the Irish Arsenal GOONER podcast. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of February. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles, as always. I'm joined this week by my regular guests, Eamonn Donnelly, Martin Hassan-Hootel-Stumble, and Erik Shadowins. How are you, lads, this week?
Good evening. Not too bad.
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Erik. Evening, Martin. They say Martin can't multitask there, but he's the manager of Southampton, and he's an Arsenal supporter at the same time there.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to get you his results.
I hear you're
Good to
staying
be
up
back.
for another
Good to be
2
back.
years.
Yeah, great to be back.
I actually thought it was George Graham when I saw you first, Martin, in the 89 retro jersey there. You haven't aged a day since that night. Just the accent is a bit funny, but anyway, welcome aboard, George. As always, you can catch our show on SoundCloud, Spotify, and on the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club YouTube channel. We'd over 65 views there last week on our latest episode, so thanks to everyone that listened into that. And of course, leave any comments at the end of the video that you like or dislike, and it's all taken on board. On this week's show, we'll be reviewing our 2-1 home victory against Brentford. We'll also be previewing this Thursday's home match against Wolves, which is live on Premier Sports 1, quarter-day kickoff. And at the end of the show, as always, our no match feature. So I hope you enjoyed the next 30-odd minutes or so in our company on this beautiful Tuesday. Now, we won 2-1, of course, on Saturday against Brentford. It was nice revenge from our opening day. 2-0 loss, of course. The main talking points in the first half was the possible penalty from Ayer's lunge on Lacazette. In my eyes, I think it should have been given as a pen, but it happened so quick. I suppose the ref, it was 50-50 on what the ref saw, but I definitely think that should have been given as a penalty. And it was unfortunate that Lacazette's goal got ruled offside. Saka was minimal when you look back on the TV half a dozen times. So we were unlucky not to take the lead in the first half. But thankfully, in the 48 minutes, Rowe finished off with a beautiful right foot finish into Reyes' right-hand post. I thought he had a great game. Along with man of the match, in my opinion, Martin Odegaard controlled the midfield beautifully. And for her second goal, Thomas Partey laid the ball off beautifully for Bukayo Saka to slot in. It was Saka's 5th Premier League goal in 6 games, so he's on a bit of a roll of form. He's having a great season, of course, alongside Smith Rowe. Of course, Christian Norgard got Brentford's late goal, but the game was all but over, and I thought we deserved the 3 points on the day. It leaves us with 23 played, with 42 points, 3 games at hand. And of course, we were in 6th position. I don't want to come to Eamonn, who was at the match on Saturday. What was your take from the Arsenal seats?
Well, the first one I'd say is that the energy generated by the crowd is getting better and better. It was fantastic. And the team had to be patient, and the crowd had to be patient because we weren't kind of creating clear-cut chances. But my first observation was that Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka in the middle of the pitch gave us a platform to push them back. Now, remember, they bullied us the first day of the season. There was none of that going on. We got on top in the middle of midfield and we pushed them backwards. They didn't have their woof outball to Tony, Ivan Tony, but I don't think that would have made a difference because we got a complete stranglehold in the middle too. And I've said that on a few times on the show, when we're missing one or other of them, we suffer, right? Odegaard and Saka created so many overloads on the right-hand side that it was inevitable that if we were going to get a goal, it was going to be by the space that created, because Brentford kept getting sucked over to what them two, and them two are so good on the ball in tight spaces that they can maneuver it around. Brentford got sucked into eventually following them over, and that opened the way for Smith Rowe to be able to either get Tierney or even Xhaka on the outside, Granit Xhaka on the outside, or come in himself. We had a lot more shots. even if some of them were a bit ambitious, that's better than slinging aimless crosses into the box when we don't have a centre forward. And I think the crowd is beginning to understand this team and beginning to understand that we're trying to do things and build, that we're not the complete article, far from it, but that we're trying to cope with what we haven't got by doing other things. And I think the crowd was right into that. You mentioned, Jonathan, the penalty on Lacazette, but let me tell you something about that. Dermot Gallagher, the referee, thinks it was a penalty in real time. Now, Dermot Gallagher refereed in an era where you'd have to hire a hitman to be shot in the box, and then you'd still have to go to court and prove they were guilty before you'd get a penalty. So he thought it was a penalty. So again, I keep saying I'm done with VAR. Thank God I was at the game and I didn't have to suffer bloody VAR. I don't even know if they looked at that one, but if they did, you'd probably have Peter Walton saying, "Oh, well, on the basis that defender was looking at his mother-in-law up in the crowd, and the mother-in-law is a nice woman who I met in the workman's club, it's definitely not a penalty." I mean, it was the clerical penalty. And as you said quite rightly, maybe in real time it was difficult to pick up. But what did the Jamie Hayes is VAR for? It was a clerical penalty.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I agree 100%. Robbed again, yeah.
And the last thing I'd say is the day was made a bit special for any of us, and I'm not asking anybody to buy into my sense of social justice, but the day was dedicated to the gay Gooners, and it really did bring home to me. We give out about corporate Arsenal sometimes, but they really do make an effort to promote diversity in society and in the community. And it was a great atmosphere all around, and we were well worth a win by a much bigger scoreline, but we were never in danger in that game. Brentford barely crossed the road, and I know they're not great, but we bossed that game from start to finish, and probably a 3-0 win wouldn't have flattered us at all.
Yeah. From your vantage point, Eamon, who stood out for you on the day? Your man of the match. Who was the starter?
The obvious man of the match was Martin Odegaard. He ran the game.
Yeah, right? Superb.
But as I referenced, the middle two really pushed Brentford back. But strangely enough, I was in the North Bank, but I was upstairs this time near the front. I'm normally downstairs near the pitch. But the sheer physicality of Gabriel really, really got me, because Brentford's only out ball was a bit of a woofer. And the way he got across and dealt with that. I mean, Ben White could have had a brandy and a cigar on the day, because Gabriel dealt with all of that nonsense that they threw at us.
Yeah.
And, it was, Saturday was a good day. Saturday was a good day,
Yeah, it was a top performance, and it was nice to get our backs on them after that opening day defeat. Martin, what was your take on Saturday's victory?
Yeah, it was obviously a great 3 points and great revenge from the first day. As we said, bees down sting twice. So, yeah, that came true. And yeah, it's sad again that we again have to talk about the refereeing, because it's just like, really, like, what did we ever do to any referee? I mean, there was 3 penalty shouts. Like, I mean, White even got fouled. You could have used that as a penalty. Lacazette definitely was a penalty. And then the handball, that was like thing, and stuff like that really makes a game. We had all the chances, we had the shots, we were dominating, and that kind of breaks up and would make a better game afterwards as well, because once the first goal goes in, the defending goes out the window, it makes for an open game. But yeah, like, I don't know, we can't buy a penalty. It's just, I don't know what else you have to say. Like, it's just really, really thingful. And you have to have a look at who's the referee now, who's the next game. So yeah, but you shouldn't be talking about that. You should be talking about, all the great play we had, all the great possession we had. We had 24 shots, 8 on target. So that's great, and that's what you want to talk about. And we really, really played well. And as Eamon said, I think now we are at that level where we can see like what we're looking for. The fans go into it. And yeah, it was a great, great win, and could have been a 3-0, should have been 4-0 probably. The goal in the end again was just like, I don't know how that wasn't offside, because like there was so many bodies in the way. Like, how you could say that, where do you actually draw the line? I don't know. But anyway, look, shame of a clean sheet, like we would have deserved, I think, a clean sheet. But yeah, it was a good thing. We watched in the riverbar. Eamon was there. We had good support in the riverbar as well, so hopefully we can have that as well for the Wolves game on Thursday, and then the Watford game on next Sunday. So that should be, we slowly getting into the sheets and getting a great atmosphere as well in the riverbar, which is good. And like 3 points always help. But beside that, yeah, it was a very good game. And yeah, outstanding player Odegaard. I think if he would have finished that one shot he had, or he tried to shoot, it would have been made his game even better. But unfortunately, he didn't. I think it was on his weak foot. So,
yeah.
yeah.
He didn't put a foot wrong, really. He just
No.
glides around the pitch, doesn't he? He's just a
Yeah.
super, on his day when he's good, he's good. Erik,
just before Erik comes in there, Jonathan, just before Erik comes in, just going back to the penalty and Martin, I think it's time. Oh, but it's so frustrating, Deirdre.
My God.
By far the best highlight of every show, lads.
It's like the day we don't have to do it, we know we are top of the league.
Yeah. I think of all the optimists out there, it could be a very long time. I think I'd still even do it if we were top of the league. Erik, what was your take on the match?
Yeah. So I just want to start with saying, obviously the refereeing decisions are what they are. I agree with what the lads have said previous to this, but I think actually this was one of the more promising performances I've seen from Arsenal this season, in the sense that, if we're going to finish in the top 4, this is how you have to play against teams like Brentford, and you have to smash them. And we absolutely smashed them. They could not, they couldn't hang with us. They were beaten all over the pitch. The only thing we didn't do is score more goals. But even then, we never thought we were at risk of doing anything but winning that game. We were dominant, and I think it does start with the midfield, as Eamonn said. One player that didn't get quite the mention was, I thought Thomas Partey was fantastic. He broke lines every time he touched the ball. He had a couple of oohs and ahs moments where he flicked the ball around the corner and drove past the guy. Similar to the kind of Odegaard dummy and all the rest. I mean, he was really, really on it. And I think that allowed for us to dominate the game and really push them back. And I think it's made a big difference that Saka's playing so much higher up the pitch, because it's creating great passing angles, but it's also moving a defender away from that square pass that I think was getting us caught out on. So I was really, really happy with the way that Arsenal went about their business. I think we had like 26 shots or something like that. I mean, we dominated them, and the only thing we didn't do was score more goals. And even that offside, it was what? Granted, Xhaka's toe was offside in the build-up was the only reason the Lacazette goal didn't count. All the rest of it. And so, to my mind, if we keep playing like that, we're going to get penalties. We're going to get calls, because we stretched them, and they just could not play with us at that level. The other thing I thought was really interesting was the change at halftime in terms of where Ramsdale was kicking the ball. And you could tell that he came out and he was really trying to play it up that left wing. And I think that's basically kind of, we identified a spot, and eventually, Smith Rowe picked up the ball and was able to drive in field from some really good play over there. So I just thought that overall we had a really good performance here, and sought to dominate a game that we should have dominated, which I think is really where we're going to collect the points that we need to go where we want to go. So to my mind, this was super promising, and I think it's exactly the type of performance we want to see going forward. And I think this is, leading into the Wolves match, exactly what you want.
Erik, that's a great point you make about Ramsdale, where he chose to kick the ball in the second half, because this is what I was trying to kind of, maybe I didn't put it across well enough, because from my vantage point, you could see in the first half, they got so preoccupied with Odegaard and Saka on that side that the whole of the Brentford team, except the right fullback, almost got magnetized over to that side. And it was an obvious ploy. It was a good spot by the team at halftime to do that. It was clever, and it shows good in-game management. So all you Arteta out people, listen to what I'm saying now, folks.
Well, and I mean, part of this was Saka and Odegaard in that first half were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that touch that Saka took over his shoulder, the ball dropped down on him, and he just it did. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I think that's to me is like, we now have two sides. You know, I think early on in Arteta's reign, and this leads back all the way to Emery, like, we really primarily attacked on that left side. And we're really one side biased. And now we're really seeing a diversity of the way that we play and the way that we're able to exploit teams. And it's just, you know, it's a real sign of progression. And you know, I think it has to be said that, you know, whether or not we always like what Lacazette's doing on the pitch, for the most part, since he came in the team in December, we're scoring a lot of goals. You know, there was the Burnley game that was a slight aberration, but like in December, we scored a lot of goals. Yeah. And that structure through the middle of the spine of the team with Odegaard, with Xhaka, with Partey, with Lacazette, it just looks really, really solid. And we're able to maintain that possession, push them back, and create some opportunities.
It wasn't Lacazette's best day on Saturday, but I'll tell you what, his work rate was unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Is it's like almost not necessarily down to whether or not he's playing well, but he provides a structure that just seems to open us up to push teams back. Yeah. And like, yeah, I want to see him score more goals and all the rest, but I tell you what, I wouldn't be messing with it, because it just seems like we're creating real chances. We're finding ways to get shots on goal. And look, Lacazette had 2 chances to score in the last match. I think he had 3 or 4 shots. He had 3 or 4 shots again today. I mean, that's really, really promising, even if he's not putting the ball in the net. We're creating those shots. We're creating those chances.
The only thing I got worried about, sorry, Jonathan, before you come in with more questions, the only thing I got worried about was, do you remember that one he shanked wide late on in the first half? He had 2 great options either side of him. And I think the man is so kind of, he just so wants to score a goal that he took the wrong option that time. If he just keeps doing what he's doing, and if he only ends up with 4 goals in the season and causes another 10 or 12, that's okay, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, like, we just criticized Odegaard for not shooting, not shooting and passing. So, like, these are really split-second decisions. They're fine margins. He should have passed the ball there. 100%. No doubt in my mind he should have passed the ball there. But we see those mistakes a lot. Like that's part of football. Like, people just make the wrong decision all the time. That's why it's such a low-scoring game. But ultimately, I just think the structure he's providing through the middle with Odegaard, like the possession we're able to maintain with them in the team, is really promising. There
was another thing I wanted to mention as well, lads, in that game. It was in the second half, late. I think it was near the end of the second half, when Nketiah came on, trying to hand the armband to Saka twice, and he refused it, acting like a spoiled child. And Tierney was gratefully took it off him, which I can see him being a leader down the line. I'd throw it out onto the table. What do you just make of that, Saka refusing? Do you think he definitely doesn't want to be captain anyway? That was for sure.
I just want to provide some context, because I think there was I think on the Ars blog they went through this, and it turns out that that's not actually what was happening. Apparently Nketiah was supposed to give the armband to Tierney. Lacazette tried to give it to him before he came off the pitch, but Tierney was over on the sideline for a throw-in.
He was in ears too, was it? Yeah.
I think Nketiah tried to give it to Xhaka, but then the ball was being played quick, and so Xhaka told him to go away because the game was happening. And so I think it was much ado about nothing, quite frankly.
And exactly, I think when we look at this in context, you know, I think this is exactly where we are now with, you know, fans, and even like in the coverage, you know, they were saying, oh, Xhaka refused the ban, you know, like, how dare him, you know, what does he do? It's just we're kind of and this is kind of the reputation we have now. That's the reputation Xhaka has now, even if it's kind of, you know, explained to that like that, it just makes totally sense. But he was just really kind of being bullied, kind of, you know, like, oh, why did you not take it? You're spoiled, like, you know, like, you shouldn't be like that, you know. And I think that is the same for, like, penalties is the same when Xhaka touches the ball. It's already red before he even does anything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where he is now, like, in perception to fans, to referees probably, and like, like to TV commentators. And that's kind of like, again, it's sad, but like, yeah, he has the reputation. But yeah, it was a bit funny. Like, and it's good to see that Tierney that he's second in line. So which is good. But then in the end, actually came out with like Odegaard probably has more pull for that for next year, I think, than Tierney has. So we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, it was an interesting thing. But like, it's all getting confusing,
Okay, look, I'm gonna give you a bit of a different context. It's absolute, total, and utter bullshit. Because as Erik has explained, if I have a guy in the middle of the pitch who's been handed an armband while the play is going on around him, it's more important to me that he gets on the ball than puts an armband on. So what in the name of God is all this about the armband? It's nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Do you think the captaincy though, Eamonn, for Saka down the line, will he be given that again? Do you think?
No, we won't be given. No, we won't be given the captaincy again because he won't be with us for more than another season, right? Granted, Xhaka is not the future of the club, but I wish people would ever get off his case, right? I was there at the Crystal Palace game when he didn't cover himself in glory. I'll hold my hands up there. But I have to say to you, some people on this show have suggested Unai Emery wasn't that bad. That's okay. But Unai Emery played Granit Xhaka. Hold on now, let me finish now. Unai Emery played Xhaka in every game. The Switzerland manager plays him in every game. The Borussia Mönchengladbach manager played him in every game. Arsene Wenger played him in every game. Mikel Arteta plays him in every game. So they can't all be gobshites.
I think he just loses the head. Probably, it's just the way he is. But like, he gives his heart. I give him that. He gives his heart when he's on the pitch, and at the end of the day, that's all you can ask of a player. Like just give your all.
But more importantly, Jonathan, him and Partey have formed a really, really good synergy in the middle of the pitch. Yeah. Whereas Xhaka can play that. Erik was bang on earlier on. He can play that 10 or 15 meters further up the pitch where he plays at international level. People always used to say, how doesn't he play like that for Arsenal? Because he was playing in the wrong position.
Yeah.
What's the right position for him?
Yeah.
And it just shows what a good back four is actually doing for him, because now he actually has the chance, So like back five with the goalkeeper, the five, they're so solid now that he actually can go where he's supposed to play, And that just shows you where it's so important to get a good defensive back four,
So if I could just add a couple of things.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
Is that Xhaka's worn the armband since, right? He's been given the armband in a similar scenario. Yeah. So the idea that he would refuse it just doesn't even make any sense. So it's nonsense and move on. I think too that one of the things is the main reason that Xhaka has earned this reputation and where he's struggled is when he ends up having to defend one-on-one, right? Because he's not the best athlete, and he struggles to stay with quicker players, right? But what we've done now is we've said, okay, we're not going to have you do that. We're going to have you focus on ball possession, ball retention, and regaining the ball as quickly as you can. And he's even pressing. And so I think what that's led to is that all of a sudden he doesn't have to turn around and run backwards, because that is where he struggles. And I think that, good on Arteta to find a solution to problems that were getting him into bad positions tactically, that he would then make rash decisions. And I think that that's kind of all there is to it. I just think that, like, in terms of Xhaka, I think what's really good about his game is that if you look at the angles he creates to receive passes, he's always available to receive a pass. Yeah. And I think that is a really underrated quality. I think it's one of those things where when we were playing with Lokonga in the midfield, we really struggled to create passing lanes through the midfield because we didn't have a guy like Xhaka to go and to find the ball. And so to my mind, whatever we want to say, like Saka is a limited player, I think, but I think he's one that has really useful qualities. And I think one of the things that Thomas Partey has done is said, well, I'm a complete player. I'll hang back here. I'll take care of things. And it allows him to play a more niche role where his job is really clearly defined and it stops him from being exposed. So like, look, I agree with Eamonn. I think the partnership with him and Partey is really good. Do I think he's the long-term future in that position? No, but
No.
he's the present. And right now, when we play with Xhaka and Partey, we score goals. And that matters.
So basically, Thomas Partey kind of liberates Xhaka in some kind of way. So for the listeners, Jonathan, it's Xhaka Khan.
And that wraps up the Brentford game quite nicely. Saka was all over them. No, yeah, it's very rare Saka gets praise on this show, so there you go.
I think there's actually a statistic out that when Xhaka and Partey play together, like we don't concede that many goals, or like we always kind of like nearly on the winning side. So that's kind of like where the two are, and especially with Partey been playing now the way he's supposed to play. I think that makes him even stronger, you know. So
I thought the way
ain't nobody can get.
I thought the way to the pass from Partey for Saka's second goal was just beautiful.
The other thing, Jonathan. I thought the keeper was at fault for that. From where I saw it, because I was behind the goal, directly behind the goal.
Right.
But when I watched it back on TV, I didn't realise Bukayo Saka had that in his armory. He really thundered that one.
Yeah, he put his foot through, didn't he? Yeah.
He normally curls them in at an angle.
He went for it.
I didn't think he had that in his leg, you know. Yeah.
He really wanted that goal. You could see enemies. He's just growing in confidence game on game. It's great to see. He really is. And the young lads have really come on big time.
And they played this song at the end of the game, you know, the Saka Rowe. So that was actually by the players being asked to do that, because they love that song so much. Like, so that's actually like, you know, that they want to have that played. And no feeling more better than both of them scoring, you know.
We do a part of it. Here we go. Saka and Emil Rowe. There we go, folks.
Get the guitar out.
If that's not worth listening to, I don't know what is. It's 29:43 to all the listeners, so you can skip to that. Our very own Saka Khan on the mic. You get a bit of everything on this show, lads. Expert punditry and singing. Eamonn, a man of many tricks. That brings us on to Thursday's match preview. We play Wolves at home at 8:15, live on Premier Sports 1. Of course, it's not long since we last met them. It'll be 2 weeks exactly, February 10th, when Gabriel scored a goal away, which could prove to be an important win come the end of the season in terms of European qualification. Of course, our last home meeting was in November 2020. We lost 2-1 to Wolves. Jimenez had that awful head injury, which kept him out for the best part of a season and a half. They, of course, won 2-1 against Leicester on Sunday. Leicester are really on a downward spiral. They're being dragged closer into the. I don't think they'd be involved in the relegation battle, but they've only 27 points. There's not much of a gap. They're starting to fall like a stone. Well, in terms of Wolves, they've played 24. They've 40 points and they're in 7th, right behind us. If we win this match, it would put us in 5th place and 1 point off Man United. I'll go to Merton. How do you see the game going on Thursday, Merton?
Yeah, it's a tough one, you know. Like, I mean, because we're the only side who actually beat them in the last couple of games. Yeah, well, you know, every game is important now, I think, you know. But this one, Wolves are a tough nut to crack. Like, hardly anybody scores more than 1 goal against them. I think the last 7 or 8 games, like, nobody scored more than 1 goal. They are close behind us. They are really a solid defensive team. So yeah, it'd be another one of these. Like, look, we have all the games where we're gonna play. They're kind of cup games, you know.
Yeah,
But these are the games, you know. You have to perform. And look, we when we took the 3 games, Wolves away, Brentford at home, and Wolves at home, I was afraid about the one going to Wolves. We won, so now we should. Theoretically, you should win, but that's never gonna be like it, you know. So, look, look, if we can play like we played on Saturday, and we can dominate, you know, the ball and have shots, like, then I'm no trouble. If we don't get any silly red cards, if the referee is some kind of good to us, I think was Martin Atkinson is the referee. So let's hope. Like, there's actually a statistic for anytime we play Martin Atkinson, we have a great record with him at home. Not so much away, but at home we have. So hopefully that goes for us. But yeah, like, look, it's gonna be tough. They played really well against Spurs. They played Leicester. I watched a bit of the game because it was after hours. Yeah, but again, they took their chances and they didn't concede, and that's kind of their thing, the trick to how they get their games going, and you know, like, they don't concede and then they score. So if we can keep it tight, have the chances and score, and hopefully close to 1-2, that would be great. I don't think it's gonna be a massive win. It's gonna be a 1-0, 2-1, 2-0 maybe, hopefully. But it's going to be a really, really tough game. Again, it's on Thursday. They played after us. Not really much in it. So, again, like, but yeah, hopefully we're going to get some result out of that.
Yeah, of course. There's to go to 10 days before our next game against Watford. Away on March the 6th, because we would have been playing Liverpool this Sunday, but Liverpool, of course, are in the Carabao Cup final. I'm still angry after them 2-legged defeat.
So we'll see if Tomiyasu might be back. You know, I think he might have saved him, you know, for it. So that might be something. And then we have a big question, you know, like, what are we gonna do with Martinelli? Who are we not gonna play? That's it. It's a good problem to have, but yeah, like, you know, well, so Smith Rowe, after playing a great game, are you gonna put him back on the bench? Are you gonna go through with Martinelli in the middle, take Lacazette out? It's a tough call, isn't it? So, but it's a good problem to have, I presume, especially
for a change.
For a change, you know, like, so be interesting.
Eamon, how do you see the match going, Thursday?
Well, the first thing, Martin referenced the referee there. I mean, let's face it, folks. Vincent de Paul wouldn't give us a penalty. So let's start there, right? So I don't think it really. Although Atkinson you're right. He's been better. He's not Mike Dean. I'll put it that way, right? Okay, so we have that. The second thing I'd say, just you mentioned Tomiyasu. A shout out for Cedric on Saturday. He was excellent.
He was
absolutely excellent, right? Yeah. Now I watched Wolves and Leicester at the weekend, and it was a very unlike Wolves performance. If Jamie Vardy had been playing, Leicester would have scored 5. The Wolves were so open in the first half; it was unbelievable. And they actually cobbled the result, which, fair play to them. They cobbled the result out of that game that they should have never got, because Leicester could have absolutely peppered them, right? But they stuck at it and they got their goal. For me, Potence is their danger man.
Yeah,
you know, we have to. But again, it goes back to what I said before the Wolves game away. You've got to get Cody out of there. And actually, and Erik was talking about this earlier, but the Lacazette structure and all of the orbital stuff that goes on around him. I think we're a good team to move a centre half out of there, because Cody's not great when he's pulled out of the, you know, he's a rock in the middle of that defense.
When he's pulled out,
he struggles when he's pulled out of there. So it's really down to again how Partey and Lacazette, Partey and Granit Xhaka can impose our game on the opposition, because you know they've got, like, you know your Neves, Coutinho, you've got the other lad is back, Neto is back, you know. We've really got to kind of impose ourselves on them, and we've got to back ourselves. You know, that we're the ones at home. We're not going to turn this into a nerve fest. We're going to believe in what we do, and we're going to impose and we're going to push them backwards. On that basis, you never know. I mean, any game can go wrong, but I think we have enough in our locker to do enough to beat them. You know.
Yeah, it is. I agree with Martin as well. It's going to be 1 or 2-0. It won't be. It won't be a game plenty of goals like we saw at Molyneux. Erik, how do you see it going on Thursday?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this game is like how tactical the away match was. I have a feeling this one might be a bit more open, because I think Arsenal sat back in that first half in particular and really tried to. The only way I can sort of say it is like their press was a whole system of traps, right?
Yeah.
And the whole it was a super tactical match, lots of really short passes, and they just set traps for Wolves all over the pitch, and especially in that first half to try to turn the ball over and generate chances. I think we're going to have a go at them in the first half in this one, and try to make a dent early, because ultimately, if you can get a goal early against Wolves and force them out, I think that is probably a good way to try to get them to expose themselves.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Wolves is gonna be too intent on playing early and mostly focused on hitting us on the counter. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be an interesting tactical battle, and I think that's why everybody thinks that it'll probably be a goal or two in it.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things with Wolves is to Eamon's point is like they should have lost that match to Leicester. Like no way they have any business winning that match. So fair play to them for doing it. But if you look at their defensive record, sort of compared to their XG over the course of the season, like they've been riding their luck a little bit. So I think they're more open than the total amount of goals they've given up suggests.
Yeah.
And that Leicester match is a good example where. Any other team would have scored 2 or 3, I think. The other thing I would say here is that I think this will be a really good time to have Martinelli on the bench, because one of the things that we have talked about in the past is how we didn't have anything on the bench, right? We didn't have anything to change the match. Well, now we have Pepe and Martinelli, and that makes a big difference and allows us to do a lot more things. And to my mind, I don't think anybody's concerned about whether or not Martinelli's going to get time again, right? It comes and goes. Smith Rowe had to wait his turn. Now he's back on the pitch, and then he scored a goal. Well, tell him to score another goal, or Martinelli's coming for his job, right? That's the type of competition you need to have in a team. And so to my mind, not a problem. This is exactly what you want. Real competition for spots. And I think Arsenal probably should have won that first match before the red card by a couple of goals, and I could see us doing 2-0 here.
But just as a word of caution, I think you're right, Erik. I think you're spot on again. But Seven Sisters FC came out, thinking that they were going to swarm all over Wolves and Wolves were going to sit back. Wolves hit them with a sucker punch in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that's one thing you can't let them do.
Yeah.
Because they're very hard to peg back when they do that,
And I think the set pieces as well, Kilman and Cody, anything from corners, they're down to be dangerous. So White and Gabriel have a big job to do, obviously along with Jimenez. I think set pieces will be one to watch out for you.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I will say this though, the way that Spurs played that match, I mean, their defenders might as well not have even turned up. Like that.
They were shocking.
Some of the ways
you use that word.
Sorry.
That's Erik off the shot.
Say like Lloris made a massive error in that match. like Lloris made a massive error in that match. Their defenders are pretty shite. Realistically, like they gave up 2 really bad goals, and if you give up goals like that, you should lose. But I have a lot more faith in the job that Gabriel, as you pointed out in the Brentford match, is doing, and the way he played against Wolves the first time. I think after all the commentary around, oh, you're celebrating too much and all the rest. I think this could be a bit spicy.
So, yeah.
And I think that, you know, the difference is our central defenders are up for the job.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game on Thursday under the lights of the Emirates, which is always nice. Yeah, I think it'd be a good atmosphere, as Eamonn says as well. It's growing. The fans are growing in confidence what Arteta's doing at the moment. So, a win going into it, another 10-day break for us, and then it's really all systems then from the Watford game onwards. You know, so it's an interesting last third of the season for us. For a change. We'll be, of course, reviewing that match on next Tuesday show. We go on to our low match feature now, and just a few names that I picked out. Fodder Balogun played the full 90 minutes again in the 2-1 loss to Bristol City. Chris Wilder's very fond of this lad, and so are we. So it's nice to see him getting another full 90 minutes under his belt. Ainsley Maitland-Niles played 79 minutes for Roma in their 2-2 draw to Verona at home. Hector Bellerin played the full match for Betis. They won 2-1 at home to Mallorca. Another yellow card from, but they lie third in the league. They're having a super season, Betis. And Pablo Marie played the full 90 minutes against Lazio in a 1-1 home draw. So it's good to see them lads getting game time, which is the most important thing. Is there anything you'd like to take out of that, lads?
No.
Oh.
Well, Ainsley Maitland-Niles Ainsley will be back with us in the summer.
I've seen that actually, yeah.
I've seen that today as well.
He'll be solid.
The most entertaining thing about that match was Mourinho punting the ball and yelling at the referee.
The only right move he's made in a long time, Erik.
There might be a swap for Xhaka versus Maitland-Niles. You never know.
Shaka Khan, Eamonn, who's
Is Joel Campbell still on loan? Is he?
Yeah, I think he's at his 10th club at this stage. I think.
Yeah.
God.
He's more clubs than Johnny Melia. Johnny Sparky, yeah.
Is there anything else that's football related you've heard involving Arsenal or anything?
No, the uproar, but like, you know, like doing up the stadium is hilarious as well, you know, but you know, like everybody coming out, like you have to do something, you have to invest your property,
you do.
You know, so I don't think it's going to come out of the players' budget. You know, so yeah, it's again like
look at this. This is all nonsense. I mean,
they're
involving. I'm on the Arsenal Supporters Trust, and they're involving the fans in the doing up of the stadium. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You know, the fans want to be involved, want more of a say. So they ask us what we want the stadium to look like. And there's other people then complaining that we're spending money on the stadium. I mean, the stadium needs to be done up. But I do want to mention, if anybody goes on to Arsenal.com, there is a bit of an initiative this year where the players support local businesses. I don't know whether people have picked up on this, right?
Yeah.
The Tollington pub was going to go down under after COVID. And through a number of initiatives, I gave a few, 20 quid or something to try and save the Tollington River. But the players got involved in an advertising campaign for the Tollington. The Tollington's up and running. There's one for the chip in.
I saw that today. David Seaman.
Your man, Aaron Ramsdale. I'd say you'll be eating chip for the next week now after that.
I fucking will be. My
first
port of call.
I think we shouldn't go without mention. I think it's good that local businesses in the area are being supported by the club, you know?
It's great. In safe hands, and it couldn't be any safer than David Seaman and Ramsdale hands at the moment. I hope he'd put them chips to the side, though, because I want him to keep on a good diet. I see David Seaman is, though, with a big gut on him. I think he could still do a job for the team, though.
But he's lost weight. He lost weight with the ponytail has gone on the moustache.
As soon as he needs to get rid of that moustache and he look another stone like. No, what a legend. No, absolutely. What a goalkeeper. What a goalkeeper.
Yeah. There you have it.
Yeah, so that's
Can I make a request? Can I make a request?
Go ahead.
Just before we go, I just wanted to get Eamonn to sing us that song again.
Here we go. Saka and Emil Smith Rowe.
A man of many talents.
I'm sorry, I have to go, lads. That's Francis Rossi on the phone. I think there's copyright issues here.
I think Eamon should be on guest as singer for the next series.
You should, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the last, the master, yeah. That completes another memorable show. I think it's fair to say. Of course, as I said on the top of the show, you can catch other episodes on SoundCloud, Spotify, and the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club YouTube channel as well. I'd like to say thanks to my guests this week, as always. Martin Hassenhutl Stumble, Eamon, who are you, Donnelly, and Erik. Never mentioned sports again, Shadowlands.
7 Sisters FC.
All the way. Yeah, so as always, have a good week, and we'll touch base with you next Tuesday evening. So thanks again, and see you again.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Have a good one.